The horror keeps haunting poor Lily, even in her dreams. Sleeping had never been so terrifying since that night at the cinema. Meanwhile, two police officers in Derry watch Hank Rogan's apartment, convinced he's involved in the children's disappearance. From their patrol car, they speculate about what he might have done, pitying the parents of the victims. Inside, Hank's mother peers through the window and tells him the officers are still outside. Hank, weary and resigned, says they'll stay there until they either find the kids or find a way to blame him. She reminds him she's told them repeatedly he wasn't anywhere near the theater that night, that he was watching TV in bed with her. But Hank knows the police don't consider that a valid alibi. In silence, his daughter Ronnie listens from the hallway. For her, surviving the nightmare at the theater and now seeing her father accused unjustly is unbearable. The grandmother insists Ronnie never should have let those children into the theater, but Hank calmly replies that none of this is her fault. Changing the subject, the old woman says Ronnie must go back to school next week. She hates seeing her so isolated and insists she needs to study if she ever wants to leave this town. Hank refuses. He says he won't let her out of his sight, not in a place where children vanish without a trace. His mother sighs and tells him he can't protect Ronnie forever. When Hank realizes his daughter has been listening, he orders her out. Ronnie, eyes full of tears, asks if they'll arrest him. He softens his voice and assures her it's just adult talk. Elsewhere, Hanlon sits on his porch when a car full of luggage stops in front of the house. His wife Charlotte and son will have finally arrived. The boy runs to his father, hugging him tightly before racing inside to explore his new room. Hanlon greets Charlotte with a warm smile. There's affection between them, but also tension. She notices a bruise on his arm and asks what happened. Han downplays it, just a scuffle at the base, and changes the subject, asking what she thinks of the new house. She admits it feels spacious and calm, though she's unsure they'll be safe here. In his room, Will admires his new telescope. His father explains that soldiers use the planets to navigate when their main systems fail. Jokingly, he says they could use it to spy on the neighbors. Will, serious as ever, answers that they shouldn't. That evening, Han studies photos of the masks worn by the men who attacked him. Charlotte interrupts, still unpacking boxes. He thanks her for suggesting the telescope, a small attempt to bridge the distance between father and son. She smiles playfully, teasing that the last thing Will needed was a baseball. Han laughs, saying he would have given a kidney for a glove at that age, but she gently reminds him Will isn't like him. Their son sees the world differently. At Derry Elementary, a large sign warns of the new curfew. Every child must be home before dusk. The town is still gripped by fear after the theater massacre. Marge tries, as always, to impress the popular girls, but they barely notice her. She laughs along with their jokes, trying to fit in, though her nervous smile gives her away. Ronnie returns to school for the first time since the tragedy. Students whisper cruelly about her father, wondering how she can sleep knowing what he did. Before the gossip grows louder, Lily approaches her and says she's been worried. In class, March leans over to ask Lily if she's feeling better after what happened. Lily answers calmly, though her face remains distant. March awkwardly admits she's felt ignored and warns that if the others see her talking to the killer's daughter, they'll drop her. Lily, disappointed, reminds her that Teddy, Phil, and Phil's sister are dead, and that fitting in with some shallow group is the last thing she cares about. Moments later, the door opens and Will enters nervously. The teacher scolds him for being late. As he looks for a seat, another boy pulls the chair out from under him, and he crashes to the floor, drawing laughter from the class. Later, at the base, Hanlon walks into a tense meeting. He can feel the racist stares from some officers. Colonel Shaw informs him that the weapon used in the attack was found in the barracks, and one of his aggressors confessed. He's no Soviet spy, Shaw says dryly. Just a stupid bigot who wanted to scare you. He assures Han that the matter will be handled. Han nods, but his eyes show doubt. As he leaves, he quietly points out that the weapon was of Soviet manufacture, a subtle warning. In town, Charlotte strolls through the market, buying flowers before stopping at a butcher shop. The butcher, Stan Kirsch, greets her politely but admits new faces are rare in Derry. As they chat, she notices across the street a group of boys beating another kid while passersby do nothing. Horrified, Charlotte crosses the street and confronts them. The victim escapes, the bullies run off, and the townsfolk simply stare at her with silent disapproval. That night, she vents her frustration at dinner, calling the bystanders pathetic for watching and doing nothing. Will lowers his gaze, lying that everything at school is fine. Han tells his wife to let it go, better not to get involved in small-town matters. She sighs, saying all she wants is some family time. Han looks distant, claiming it's been a long day. When she asks if he wants to talk about it, he smiles gently. Can't, he says. Classified stuff. Meanwhile, Ronnie lies in bed, listening to her father argue with her grandmother. She stares at a photo of her mother and pulls the blanket over her head to block out the shouting. Then the mattress begins to pulse, slowly at first, like a beating heart. The blanket turns crimson and wet. She struggles free and falls to the floor, gasping. When she looks back, her dead mother is lying there in her wedding dress. You tore me apart, the woman whispers. You destroyed me like you destroyed those kids, and you'll destroy your father next. Her face contorts monstrously as an umbilical cord snakes from the bed, wrapping around Ronnie's body and dragging her toward a gaping, tooth-filled wound. Two glowing yellow eyes stare from the darkness. Ronnie screams and breaks free just as her father bursts in. The vision vanishes. She collapses into his arms, trembling. At a nearby bar, 3 black officers sit discussing their recent police interrogations. One of them is Dick Halloran. The local police chief, Clint, enters and whispers something to the bartender. The men take the hint and leave. Back at the base, a guard stops them at the gate, but lets them through as soon as he hears Halloran's name. The next morning, 3 native teens watch from afar as soldiers dig through their land. Among them is Halloran, pale and hungover. It's the 4th excavation in 4 months, and his commander is losing patience. Halloran remains calm. We're close, he says quietly. At the school cafeteria, March waves Lily over, but Lily ignores her and sits alone. Moments later, Ronnie approaches nervously and whispers, "That thing is back." Lily studies her frightened face, trying to stay composed. Across the room, March's friends gossip and laugh. Trying to impress them, March cracks a joke that falls flat. Patty mocks her for wearing the same outfit as yesterday. Back at Lily's table, Ronnie admits the monster said it would come for her father. Lily tries to reassure her. Everyone knows he's innocent, but Ronnie doesn't believe it. Their argument escalates until Ronnie shouts, "We both know that's a lie." The entire cafeteria goes silent. The teacher intervenes and sends her to detention. In a hallway, Will eats lunch alone until Rich jokingly tells him the seat's reserved. They chat briefly before chaos erupts when someone throws a smoke bomb. Will bumps into a teacher and ends up punished in detention with Ronnie. There, they meet properly for the first time. Will says he was punished unfairly. Ronnie admits she wasn't. Surprised, she asks why he's reading for fun. He shrugs. Science fascinates him. She smiles faintly. "You're weird," she says. One weirdo recognizes another, he replies. Meanwhile, Lily faces the worst. She's brought in by Chief Clint, who manipulates her gently, mentioning her past in the psychiatric hospital. With a cold voice, he suggests sending her back to Juniper Hill for her own safety. Terrified, she hesitates, and that single pause is enough to condemn Hank. That afternoon, he's arrested in front of his mother and Ronnie. The girl cries uncontrollably as the police car drives away. "I'll come back," Hank shouts. "Everything will be fine. Take care, Mom." Moments later, Ronnie storms into Lily's house, demanding to know what she's done. Lily pleads that Clint tricked her, that she didn't mean it. Ronnie glares at her, filled with rage and despair, before Lily's mother slams the door. The next morning, Han visits Masters in his cell. He places a pistol on the table, the same model used in the attack. Calmly, he asks how Masters got such a rare Soviet weapon and how he managed to load it so quickly. Masters grabs it in anger and fails to load it. Han's suspicion is confirmed. He wasn't one of the attackers. Reporting back, Han tells Shaw the man is guilty of racism, not the crime itself. Shaw smiles thinly and admits the interrogation was a test. "You passed," he says. "You're a rare man, a man without fear." Han demands to know who really hit him, but Shaw refuses. Later, Lily goes shopping alone while her mother works a double shift. At the grocery store, a disembodied voice whispers, "You should be locked up." Over the loudspeakers, her name echoes. The aisles twist impossibly. Reflections of her dead friends stare from cereal boxes. In a jar of pickles, her father's rotting face appears. The jar shatters, and suddenly everything is normal again. Shaken, Lily stands alone as people stare. That night, her mother decides to send her back to Juniper Hill. Meanwhile, at the base, Shaw leads Han through a restricted corridor. He explains that earlier this year, Soviets and Cubans held a secret agricultural summit in Cuba. Its true goal, to deploy nuclear warheads capable of striking the United States within minutes. What they're about to see, Shaw says, might be the only hope to stop it. The mission isn't to build a weapon, it's to find one buried long ago somewhere in Derry. No one knows what it is, only that its very existence inspires paralyzing fear. Around it, strange objects act as beacons. If they can locate them, they'll find the weapon. At that moment, Dick Halorn arrives with news. They found something. That night, under heavy rain, the soldiers dig through the mud. They uncover an old car from the 1930s. When they open the door, several human skeletons spill out. Everyone stands frozen. Han stares at the remains, covered in dirt and dry blood. They're closer than ever to uncovering the truth and the horror that Derry has buried for generations.